Can't say I watch many Flyers games. Oh, God, yeah.
I think better get into the business.
Really hard for a goalie to make.
Thank you. Thank you.
What are your thoughts?
Is able to re-sign Rantanen.
Below the Flames in a wildcard race.
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and you can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. And to stay up to date, make sure you click the bell icon to get notifications whenever we upload. I will link all of our socials in the description as always. And yeah, I'll hop right into it, keep it short and sweet. Hope you guys enjoy the episode with Lynden Lakovic. All right. Well, thank you for doing this. Thanks for being patient. I've had like a crazy week, so.
Absolutely, and thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Can you kind of just take me through your last 2 years, championships, injury setbacks, and just being named captain, and just kind of what it's been like over the last couple of years for you?
Yeah, for sure. Moose Jaw, they bring me in and, kind of made me a part of their family there. And on that championship run last year, I played with guys that they're not just guys I know, but they're friends that I could say I have forever. And, that was the tightest group of guys I've ever played with playing hockey, right? And that whole championship run, when trading for Savoy and, getting some other guys, key pieces that helped out that run were all really important. And, those are, friends and teammates that, like I said, I'm going to remember forever. And obviously this year, with my injury, that was kind of a setback I had. In a draft year in a year like this, it definitely sucks, but there's nothing you could really do about it except persevere through it, and it's just some adversity to help you along the way that builds character, right? So yeah, I broke my collarbone and I was out for 6 weeks, and then I came back, and yeah, they named me captain after trading Yeager, and it's obviously something special, being an 18-year-old captain and junior hockey is always our captain in general has been an honor, but it feels pretty nice being named at a younger age. So I think my teammates, they respect me, and I get along with everyone in that dressing room, so yeah, I'm honored.
Yeah. What was kind of like the recovery like for you with the injury, and just kind of trying to stay focused on what was at stake, and just kind of like not getting concerned, or like not getting down on yourself through the time being off the ice and everything?
Yeah, it was definitely, first couple of days were definitely hard on me because, you've trained your whole life for this year, and you don't really know right away how long you're going to be out for, right? And obviously with an injury like that right away, it feels like forever, right? And you're going to be missing some time, so it definitely sucked for the first couple of days, and I was in a lot of pain for about 2 weeks. I couldn't really do much. I just went to the rink and watched the guys practice and whatnot for 2-3 weeks, and couldn't really do anything. And so that really sucked, and that was tough on me. And yeah, like I said, it's just adversity I had to deal through. And then after the 3 weeks where it start to feel a little bit better, you start your recovery process, trying to mobilize it, and trying to get that range of motion back at first. And, once you get your range of motion, you kind of start building strength back, right? So maybe you start lifting some lighter weights, trying to build that muscle and strength back. Yeah.
Yeah. Could you just take me through kind of like your minor career up to now, and just kind of playing in like the Prospect Challenge, and just kind of like
Yeah.
your quick stop in the BCHL, and just kind of playing like throughout your years, and kind of just how you got to this point?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I grew up in West Kelowna, and yeah, they had a junior A team there. So I played West Kelowna minor hockey. I would always go to, the BCHL games there is right down the road from my house. So, growing up, me and my friends, we would always go to the games, and, we'd cheer them on. And, yeah, that was kind of big part of, my childhood, right? Being around those players, like my friends billeted some of the players, so always being around those junior type players. And it was definitely awesome. And yeah, I played West Kelowna minor hockey. Then we moved to Kelowna for a year to play Kelowna minor hockey, and we had a pretty good team. We went to like the Quebec tournament. I don't know if you know that tournament, but yeah, that was fun. And then yeah, I had a quick stop in the BCHL. That was kind kind of the stage where, you kind of have to choose, right? If you're going to go to the major junior route or college route. So, at that time I was kind of weighing out my options, seeing what I wanted to do. So, yeah, West Kelowna, they were kind of like, if I were going to go that route, I would go there just because, it's local and, they had a good team and I trusted their staff, right? So, I played a few games there and then, yeah, I got drafted by Moose Jaw. They took me in. I'm like, I went there. I'm like, hey, I want to play here, right? So, that's kind of the route I chose. But yeah, and then obviously the prospects game, it was awesome. That whole experience, just meeting those guys, and since I'm a later birthday, I don't know a lot of them too well through like Hockey Canada events or select tournaments, right? And so that was a group of guys like I kind of didn't know, and all those guys, they kind of knew each other playing at like Hockey Canada events and what so, right? And yeah, it was definitely awesome. I created friends on that team that I still talk to, and yeah, it's definitely a fun process, and that whole experience was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of getting into your like just game and stuff a bit. What is one part of your game that you consider kind of underrated or something that maybe scouts and people watching maybe don't pick up on immediately, but will after a couple games, like something you think just goes unnoticed a little bit?
Yeah, I think it'd be my details and my hockey IQ. I think a lot of people they might criticize my compete a little bit, and I think obviously that's something I need to work on, right? I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's amazing by any means, right? And just consistency with that. But like my little details, my timing on the ice, stuff like that, might go unrecognized from the naked eye. But I think if you were to pay closer attention to it, I think you'd be surprised. Yeah.
Um, how would you best describe your game? Are you like a sniper? Are you a playmaker, pass first kind of guy? Like, how would you describe your game?
Yeah, I think I'm a two-way scorer. I think I score as many goals as I get assists, right? So I think I'm kind of that dual threat option where I could put the puck in the net or pass it to a teammate and set them up, right? And obviously, I think for my size, I'm a pretty good skater, so I'd say I'm a big two-way scorer.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention your size. I think Elite Prospects has you at like 6'4" right now.
Yeah.
Um, is that just something that you've always had? Like, were you always the bigger kid, like growing up, or like when did you really notice that you were that bigger compared to other kids?
Yeah, I didn't really get big probably till I was like 16. Growing up, I was always big, and then I stopped growing for a bit, and everyone else kind of got to my size and bigger, and then that midget to junior jump, like I went from like 5'11" to 6'2". Like I grew quite a bit, and normally when you grow that much in a short period of time, like you kind of lose coordination, right? And it might take you a while to get used to your body, and it didn't take me any time. And yeah, I think it definitely helped me for sure.
Yeah, at your size, obviously, it's kind of hard to keep your legs under you and stuff, and just keeping that speed and pace. Would you consider your size more of a disadvantage or an advantage with how you play your game? And like, obviously, you mentioned that getting that compete level up and stuff, but in the puck battles and just around the boards and all that, like, would you consider your size to be more of an advantage?
Yeah, I definitely would. I don't think it's a disadvantage. The bigger you are, I think the more advantage it is, and it gives you more options to play different types of roles and add different skills to your toolbox, right? I think that definitely is going to help you. Like I said, adding skills to your toolbox and that and those puck battles and compete, right? It's definitely going to make you a better player, right? And with that size, it only helps, I think.
Yeah. Just talking about your size and just kind of like your IQ and everything. What would you say is your best aspect or asset in your game?
Uh, I would think my skill set and skating. I think those two go hand in hand. Obviously, I think when you watch me, I think that's what stands out right away. And I think, um, obviously working on the other things to round out my game, but those are some things. Those are my strengths, I think, and that's what's gonna make me a long NHLer.
Yeah. Getting to the draft a little bit. I know you mentioned it at the start here, but um, how are you feeling heading into the draft? I know obviously with hockey and everything year round, it's kind of hard to just focus in on it, but with summer coming up and just time off now, is it something that's on your mind more and just kind of how do you feel going about it?
Yeah, I feel great. I think there's, not a lot of pressure. I think, like I said, you've had the year you've had and you did what you could to, you know, show yourself and showcase what you can do, right? And, at this point, it's kind of just a waiting game right now. Like, obviously, there's still some guys in playoffs and now U18s is starting. So, but after that, it's kind of just a waiting game. So, obviously, it's something you're thinking about, right? Like, but, it's not stressful or anything. You're going to go where you're going to go. And right now in the summer, you're just, you're focused on that, but you're also focused on, developing and getting better. So, maybe you have a chance to make that team or take that jump, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't really have any worry or concerns, like you're feeling pretty good about where you were and just kind of how you heading into things.
Yeah, I do feel good. Like I said, obviously, teams are going to have some concerns about some smaller stuff, but, I think, what I get a lot of slack for is very coachable and teachable, right? And it's just something that could just make me a better player. And, what I did is showcase myself. I think, I solidified myself to put myself in a good spot for upcoming years in the draft, right? So, like I said, there's not much you could do except wait. And, wherever I go, they're going to take me for a reason because they believe in me and they're going to help me develop. So, I'm just excited for that.
Yeah. Are you a guy that's kind of like on social media and paying attention to that stuff, like draft rankings and where people have you and stuff? Like obviously things can change. They do every year. Like mock drafts are never exact, but
Right.
and teams obviously like who they like, but have you paid attention to any of that? Is that something you have your eyes on?
Yeah, like, I look at them for sure. I think, if you were to ask any player in the draft, I think, they would be lying to you if they said they didn't, but it's just how you take it, right? Like you said, they change, things change and, those mock drafts and those rankings, they're just people's opinion, right? And, at the end of the day, the NHL teams, they have their own list and they're going to be picking the teams, right? So, yeah, I think, I definitely do look at them, but I don't stress about them or, if I'm lower on a list or higher on a list, I don't think about it too much, right? So, yeah.
Getting back into your game a bit, growing up, did you have any like favorite players that you think you kind of model your game after a little bit, or just kind of just liked up growing up and they kind of made you want to be a hockey player?
Yeah, growing up, my dad was always a Canucks fan, so I always watched them growing up, and I liked the Sedin twins. Sorry, growing up. No, I don't think I play like them, but I always liked watching them and what they do out there. And when I try and model myself after a player, I look at like Tage Thompson or Jack Eichel. So I look at those players, their size and frame and Eichel's skating ability and Thompson's, like I said, frame and skill set, right? And I try to emulate those type of players.
Yeah. Um, when and why did you kind of start playing hockey? Like, was it your dad that got you into it, and just kind of when did you first start playing hockey?
Yeah, I was probably around like 3 or 4 years old, right? Yeah, my both my uncles played professional hockey, and my dad never played, but he got me into it, and that's kind of why I started, and then I kind of fell in love with the game, and I haven't looked back.
Yeah. Obviously your dad and some of your family, but who's been beside you the whole way and kind of just been supporting you and been in your corner for your whole career?
Yeah, outside of immediate family, I think it's probably my uncle. Like I said, he played pro hockey and we're really close with him and he's close with me. I talk to him pretty much every other day and yeah, he's kind of been in my corner and helping me out throughout the process and my whole hockey career. So yeah, he's been important to me.
Yeah. As far as coaches and stuff go, how's your the training and staff been with Moose Jaw and just kind of how have they helped you develop over the past couple of years?
Yeah, like I said, Moose Jaw's like a home to me. They bring me in, and the coaching staff and training staff there's been incredible to me. I have great relationships with all of them, and they've helped me develop and understand the importance of the small details in the 200-foot part of the game, right? And if you don't know how to play 200 feet, you're probably not going to play in the NHL for very long unless you are that guy putting up 150 points, right? And not everyone's Connor McDavid, right? So you have to, get to a point and mature a little bit and realize, who you are and what's your identity and what are you going to be, right? And being able to help out all over the ice. That's kind of what he's helped me with, and they've been awesome to me.
Um, Going continuing with this year, what have you done differently or better within your development, you think, this year to make you more of that top player and just be considered in the draft this year?
Yeah, I think obviously I put in a lot of work this summer or past summer, sorry, but yeah, I think a big thing is, just getting older and being more confident, right? I think, without confidence, you're not going to do a whole lot out there. And, just knowing what you're capable of and, your mindset of going out there and trying to dominate every shift. I think that was a part of my game where maybe I lacked in past years. And, I took a lot of pride in the mental part of the game, and it's definitely helped me for sure.
Yeah. Um, what is one word that best describes your game?
Fast.
Fast.
Yeah. I think I do. I try and do everything at fast paces.
And would you consider that maybe sometimes you're too quick? Like, do you find yourself stepping over the puck or losing um, pace in transition? Like, is that something that's difficult for you, or are you always kind of on the ball with your pace?
Yeah, I think pace is a big part of it. I think, you have to learn how to play fast when, you're playing, you're going to be playing at the next level, right? Trying to learn how to play fast and do everything top notch, right? And I think, from the junior to pro game, I think in junior, you can play fast, but you also have to like realize when you could slow the game down, right? And there's a time and place for that for sure. And at the pro level, there's not a lot of time and space, or you have less, right? So trying to create separation and, kind of even out your pace and do everything as fast as you can, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I know we mentioned your compete, but would you say you have compete in your game? Are you a competitive player, like not just maybe in board battles, but just in general, like you want to win, you want to be the best you can, just kind of and where does that drive come from?
Yeah, I definitely do. And I think the drive comes from passion, right? I know sometimes it may not look like I'm going 100%, but, most of the time I am if that's on the forecheck. And, maybe I might not win a battle, but at least I'm trying. And that's kind of the step I have to take to come out with more of those wins on those puck battles, right? And that's obviously what I'm trying to develop. But I definitely do think I have compete, and I'm a player who wants to win, and I think I proved that last year throughout the playoffs, and uh, times this year for sure. I definitely showed that, right? So.
Um, is that something that you think that maybe you needed to work on to become a pro? Or like what are some things that you really think you need to like hone in on to become a pro? Not just in the NHL, but also like the AHL, for example.
Yeah, yeah. If you're not competing, if you're not trying out there, you're pretty much invisible, right? And that's definitely something. Like I said, it's a building block. Like I said, I don't think my compete's bad by any means, but just building that consistent motor, going 100% every time you're out there, all over the ice. I think that's something, I could be more consistent with, and it's definitely going to help me in the pro game for
Yeah.
sure.
Did you always know that you wanted to play hockey? I know playing it at a young age as well, like 3 and 4, but was there any other sports? And kind of when did you realize that hockey, maybe there was something there and just kind of when did that really click for you that this could potentially be a career for you?
Yeah. For me, it's always been hockey. Obviously, I enjoy golf and basketball and all that, but it was probably 12, 13 years old. I'm like, I'm really committed to this. I want to do this. I want to go all in. So that was probably the turning point for me. Yeah.
Yeah. A few more questions, and I'll let you go. But I know we talked about the playoffs and everything, but like, how was the Memorial Cup for you, and how's that experience as well?
Yeah, it was definitely awesome. I mean, those teams over there, they were there for a reason. Everyone was winners, right? And that whole experience, that whole run for us was awesome. And like I said, in that tournament, you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. You know, the players on the teams, but you don't really know what they play like and all that sort of side, all that jazz. So it was definitely an eye opener for sure. And that tournament's, it's small, it's short, but it's fast paced hockey. It's the best junior hockey out there, right? So it was definitely awesome.
Oh, what was it like growing up in Kelowna and just in the area and stuff? Like, obviously hockey's a big thing in Canada, but like, was it big there as well growing up? Just kind of like, were you always on the same team with kids? Like, how big of a thing was it for you?
Yeah, it was definitely huge. Like in Kelowna, they got two junior teams there, or you got the BCHL team and WHL team, obviously. So going to games when I was younger and, going out there with all your buddies and, you're on the ice every other day. So it was a big thing in Kelowna. And obviously, like you said, it's a big thing in Canada, but, it was big for me and, I enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, I was kind of with a group of friends from, Pee Wee till junior, right? And, we still keep in contact this day. We're all playing for different junior teams. Some of them are drafted to the NHL. So hopefully we all get to that point eventually. So it was pretty special to me. And it's awesome.
Yeah. One more. I just noticed you're wearing a Red Wings shirt as well. Are you at all a Red Wings fan? I know you mentioned the Canucks as well, but are you just because it's a cool shirt?
It's a pretty cool shirt. Yeah. I honestly, I'm a bandwagon. I like to say New Jersey because I've been cheering for New Jersey for a little bit, for a couple of years now. But yeah, I'm a bandwagon, and I got the shirt on because it's a nice shirt.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean that's all I got for you. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for being patient with me over the last couple of weeks. It was great talking to you, and best of luck in the draft.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I enjoyed our time with it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, best of luck.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye.